The following program is brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Talk Inc. I.N.K, Ian and Kim. How are you, everybody? How you doing there, Kim Marie?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys out there? Did y'all have a good week? I know that I did.
Yeah, how's our peanut gallery doing tonight? Everybody having a good time? Woo-hoo! Hey, this is the happening place. The last 2 weeks since we started, man, people are just wanting tickets for sales. They just want to come in. Well, we can't sell tickets because, but kind of like the Johnny Carson show, those tickets were for free airtime. Anybody can pop in when they want to. But we always have happening people coming in and just rocking it out and doing whatever.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. So how was your week?
My week's been really good. Had a lot going on. I do have a movie coming up this weekend, actually, that I need to work on. I'm working with a young aspiring
aspiring. Does he take aspirin where he's directing? I mean, aspiring. You mean
aspiring? God, come on.
Aspiring. I like
aspiring.
that. That's part of my new vocabulary.
Anyway, he's young. He's like 15 years old.
Cool.
And he wrote the script. And I went to class with him about a year ago when I first started in my career. His name is Willie, which I like to say hey to. Hey, Willie.
Free Willie! Okay, that works for me, too. Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well,
so I'm going to be doing that this week. I'm getting messages all over the place. Are these love notes or something?
I think
here?
they just allow.
Why every time he's here, he sends me love notes? I don't understand it.
They want to say our mugs or something. I don't know. This is a mug. That's a mug. This is a mug. Okay. You like the mugs? Yeah, all right.
I like them if there's beer in them.
I have near beer. I'll do the O'Doul's or something. I don't drink beer. I don't drink beer. I'm fine. I'm good. But
so that's what I have going on, and
cool.
Stuff like that. Just having a good old time. What about you? I'm sure you have a lot of stuff going on, right? You always do.
Never. Yeah. But no, first of all, I just want to say, first of all, Susan Buckner, if you're watching, thank you so much for a great show. And we had a great surprise last week with Eddie Deason, who played Eugene in Grease. Nice little Grease reunion. And then her daughter Samantha called.
Yes.
And Jerry Rill, who played Jan on the Brady Bunch, called in to say hi. It's a happening place here. I'm telling you, we just had a wonderful
she's
Grease
a really
reunion.
Lovely person too.
She really is.
If y'all are Grease fans and everything, and you want to get back into some history, check more about her out because she does a lot of stuff besides Grease.
Yeah, next week we got Barry Pearl. Barry is also a Grease cast member. He played Duty in Grease, so he'll be joining us next week. And you never know who might want to surprise old Duty. Howdy Doody. He'll be on with us and just to talk about his illustrious career. A lot of people don't know he's done a lot of theater, a lot of Broadway, as well as many, many things. He did a couple shows like CPO Sharky with Don Rickles back in the 70s.
That's something I never attempted is theater.
Theater?
How about you?
Oh,
have you done
my first show? I was 4 years old. I did The King and I. That was my first. I played Prince Tulacron. I was a little guy going, well, etc., etc., etc. I've done over.
And you still can do that very well.
Thank you. I'm 4 years old. We're digressing. No, in my career, I've done over 60 live shows.
Wow.
I mean 60 shows, but I played probably close to 5,000 performances.
Talent.
I guess. But no, I was in
America's Got Talent.
No. Well before America's
Ian
Got
has
Talent.
talent.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, so does Kim. Kim is very talented. But no, I did. I was in National Touring Companies of Jesus Christ Superstar, Cats, Evita.
I love that one.
And I even did. I got to be the understudy for The Phantom.
Mm-hmm. The guy from Black Sabbath was in that. Jesus Christ Superstar, wasn't he?
One of the renditions.
Yeah.
But I was back in the day with Carl Anderson and Ted Neely when Ted Neely played.
Well, you know I'm a rocker, so.
That's right. Jesus. That's right. Oh, let the cat out of the bag when me singing. I don't want to do that, but that's okay. But just, a lot of things going on, getting that together with Barry and joining us next week. And then, so again, thanks to all that joined us last week. We got a lot of shout outs to going out this week and so forth. We just finished up the Sunscreen Film Festival. It's a major event. Apparently really, really well. They had a lot of Matt was down there and, was our floor producer, and he's also the president of the Sunscreen Film Society here in the greater Tampa Bay area. And they had a turnout of a lot of celebs that popped up and did workshops and casting directors. And it's always a wonderful thing. Tony Armour puts on a terrific show. We're probably going to get Tony to come on down with us sometime. And, he's really built that up to be such an incredible situation. He's got the Academy Awards, the American Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has been his key sponsors for the time, as well as, for many of the last year and this year. And now he's got a Sunscreen in the West Coast and East Coast, which is really kind of cool. So there's that. And then we had something that I was very blessed to give leadership to this last Wednesday was the Greater Tampa Bay Area Summit that we had. So,
I've been hearing about this.
Yeah, it went really, really well. We had all the film commissioners from the Greater Tampa Bay Area, myself and Matt, and then giving leadership through the Florida Film Industry Expo, which is coming up on August 2nd and 3rd here in Tampa. And then
just keep
Robert Sterrett, Robert Sterrett, who started Gasparillo, Tony Armour from, again, the Sunscreen, and then Alex Wadsworth, our beloved president of the Talkwad Studios here, who was there to show a new medium, and the wonderful Mr. David Yates. And David came out and lent his support. He's the executive producer, or one of the producers of Dolphin Tale 1 and 2, and he's the CEO of the Clearwater Marine Aquarium. So he's really been our Pied Piper of filmmaking, so that we don't lose sight, even though the film incentives didn't get passed this week. I send a shout out to all my filmmakers out there. I'm talking true filmmakers, not to lose sight, not to give up, because I've had a chance to talk to a number of the studio heads this last week who said, the mere fact that we don't have a state tax here is not going to have them lose sight on wanting to do movies here. And so it's only the up-and-coming filmmakers that really going to, if you want to say, suffer the most, rather than going to Georgia or Louisiana. But there's still going to be a lot of work. They still have 28 films that are obligated from the incentives that have been passed out for tax incentives for the last 2 years that will take us into 2016.
There's a lot of places to film here.
Oh, yeah.
I've lived here all my life. It's beautiful.
I know. And they still save a lot of money, seriously, just by filming here with no state tax on production value and costs and things like that, supplies, building sets, all that kind of stuff. So don't lose heart, everybody. We're still going to make it happen. I'm not going anywhere, and I know a lot of other top filmmakers in the area aren't either. Otherwise, why would we be here? Because we just love Florida. It's a great place. So I just have one quick shout out before we're going to have our special guest here in just a moment. I just want to say a shout out to Allegra Hueso. Allegra is a daughter of my buddy Ruben Hueso out in Pasadena, California. And Allegra was part of the USC, University of Southern California, women's water polo team that won the NCAA championship, and they got their rings today. I told them I'd give them a shout out, so I know all the staff and the team member down at USC are watching right now. So cheers to you guys, way to go, because I know it took a lot of hard work and commitment to get to that role, to be the NCAA champions. That's awesome. And me being from Palo Alto, I'm a big Stanford fan. So, but when I lived in Pasadena for about 35 years, to me, I had my semblance of fan base to love USC and UCLA, and that was always great because we'd go to the Rose Bowl to see the UCLA games or go to the Coliseum USC. But we used to spend lots of time with the Hueso family, especially at the Rose Parade every year, on the Tournament of Roses Parade on Colorado Boulevard. We always had a blast doing that. So with all that said, we got a lot of things taken care of in the last few moments here, and we're real excited, ladies and gentlemen, to have a gentleman that is going to be sharing his thoughts and ideas. And so before we actually formally bring him on air with us, Gary, if you will. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Butch Patrick, Eddie Munster from the Munsters. Eddie, how are you? Or Butch, I should say, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Does that happen a lot to you? Do a lot of people just walk up and say, hey, Eddie, what's going on?
Happens all the time. Not a problem.
I feel bad, but I'm sorry, Butch. But anyway, yeah, I know people call me Mickey Mouse everywhere I go, so I totally understand.
Well, I answer to a lot of other things as well, but those are the nicer ones.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. So what's going on with your bad self these days?
Oh goodness, just everything's going really, really well. The big projects this year is the Munsters 50th anniversary coming up September 24th, and I've been doing a lot of personal appearances and compiling stories from the fans about a book that I'm putting together, which is really kind of educational, fan-based tribute to the show in itself. And it's kind of an iconic television show. It's been 50 years, as I stated. But people always come up and have such good stories to share with me that I thought it would be a fan-based book about what the fan stories are, and share them with everyone else.
I remember talking to you about that earlier today, I think it was, and you wanted a lot of the fans to participate in the book and send you some stuff through the mail. Do you want to go ahead and share that information here? Do you want to share it on Facebook?
Sure.
That way they can go ahead and get that information to you, because I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, I started off with the email stuff, and I got a lot of email statements and text and stuff. But I really like the old school snail mail stuff where you lick a stamp. I had postcards handed out in Salt Lake City too. I put out about 200 of them every day. I'm getting them coming in the mail. So it's basically Butch Patrick, Post Office Box 145, Manhattan Beach, California, 90267 -0145.
That's great. And all of you that's listening out there, I'm going to go ahead and post that address again on the Talk Inc. website that we have. That way that if you missed it on the show, you can catch it there, or you can go ahead and rewatch the show again if you want to and hear Butch tell you what the address is for himself.
Yeah, just kind of relive Butch Patrick all week long. For the weeks and months ahead, we'll always these shows always get archived.
But I'll definitely be posting it so they can catch that there. Of course, no problem.
Well, it's funny that I'm talking to you guys because I live in St. Pete Beach from
I was just going to ask you that.
When did you live here?
1990 to 1995.
Wow.
And I loved it. I came across the bridge, Howard Franklin, 1 million times, spent a lot of time in Tampa. It was actually the first time that the Busch Gardens became a nighttime haunt for Halloween. They hired me for the whole month for Hollow Springs, the inaugural year.
Yeah, that's supposed to be scarier than Halloween. I heard
watch
that.
I heard
watch
it
that. Was. It's supposed to be really scary.
She's trying to throw me under the bus. Did you find out that I was one of the creators of the Halloween Horror Nights for Universal?
I know.
No, that's great.
I did that back in 1990.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
The funny thing about it was I went into Ron Benson, who was the head of Live Entertainment Universal. I said, they got, Butch, how they have Knott's Berry Farm. Well, they had the Knott's Scary Farm, and they had it going on for years and years. So I went and said, guys, we've got the rights to Wolfman, Dracula, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Creature of the Black Lagoon, and we're not doing anything. They said, well, what would you like to come up with? I went, So me and my buddy...
the Munsters were based on those characters. You should talk to them on my behalf for the 50th anniversary for the month of October. Although I'm already booked half the month, but maybe a week or so we could come in and do something with them.
That'd be kind of cool. Well, it's interesting. A lot of the guys that I retired from show business, I should say the formalization when I worked at Universal about 10 years ago, just after my kids were born. And so I, kind of wanted to be a stay-home dad. And a lot of the people that I worked with are either dead or retired. So I don't have a lot of contact with that. But we used to go, when I did my internship, I was a tour guide, and we used to go by the 1313 Mockingbird Lane, home of Eddie Munster.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. This book that I'm working on with the gentleman that did the Munsters comic books back in the mid-'90s. And one of the stories that we really have is how it's so difficult to get anybody in power at Universal to understand the Munsters because they're all a bunch of young kids now, and they're not really familiar with the show, and they don't really understand the depth of the fan base, in my opinion. And so when I go out and I see kids, grandkids, and their kids watching the show together, that's a pretty unusual situation for any show that was only on for 2 years, back in the 60s. To still be around with new licenses every year for toys, for garments, and even Walmart uses it in its commercials at Halloween with the Munsters theme, which, by the way, is like one of the most recorded songs ever.
Oh, I know. I fondly remember, Butch, when I was 6 years old and I would sit on the sofa in our little area out in the house, and I remember just hearing that dun 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 dun, and I
love that show.
It just kicking that in just sent shivers up my spine. Even to this day, it brings back so many fond memories of 1964 when I was a little guy.
I didn't get to catch it when it was in the 60s. I guess it ran, 70 episodes for 2 seasons. I was, but I wasn't born.
No. I mean, when it was syndication, by the time you'd see it, they would show it on other television.
They did. I saw it when I was a teenager on TBS, and I looked forward when I got out of school. I just ran home just to see that on TBS. I loved the Munsters. It was great.
You know what I loved about...
Eddie was really cute.
Oh, yeah, well...
I had a crush on him.
You had a crush on Eddie Munster? Mm-hmm. You hear that, Butch?
I'm all ears. Pointed ears at that.
I had a really big crush on you, and I wanted Fred to be my dad.
Too funny.
I did. I told you that the other night.
Oh, I had the hots for Yvonne DeCarlo myself as a young kid. She would have been a mighty cougar for me. But
I know. And I pulled some really sexy pictures of her up because she used to actually be a model.
Yeah, she was a pinup gal
before she came on the show.
And I got a trivia question for the peanut gallery. Does anybody remember what character that Yvonne DeCarlo played in a classic biblical TV movie or a movie that went to TV? Anybody? No. She played Moses' wife.
I do.
I know you do, Butch. She played Charlton Heston's wife. She played the wife of Moses in the Ten Commandments, and with Cecil B. DeMille. Ready when you are, CB. That whole thing. But you know what's funny, Butch, is that when you did the show, there was one scene where you were being bullied by some kids in the storyline, and there was one famous line that I adopted, and I say it to this day when I used to get picked on at school, and I'd say, and this is from the Munsters, mind you, I'd say, "How would you like me to take your nose and put it on backwards so the next time you sneeze, you blow your brains out?" Do you remember that line?
Yeah, that's Jack McGinty. That's when I became a bully. Yeah, I remember that. What are you, yellow? No, I'm green.
So you had to go through 500? There was 500 auditions for this role, and you got the role because you were the shortest one. Is that true?
I wasn't even, actually, to be perfectly honest with you, the way that worked out was I was living in Illinois with my grandmother. I had just finished the Real McCoys, and I went back to stay with her for a while. Mm-hmm. I was in the 5th grade. They had looked at a bunch of kids. They had hired, actually, a kid named Happy German that did the pilot with a woman named Joan Marshall, and the mother's name was called Phoebe. They hadn't called her Lily.
Okay.
And at the last minute, my agent, Mary Grady, said, "We want to screen test you with Yvonne DeCarlo for this part." And it's a show called The Munsters. It's kind of a universal Leave It to Beaver with makeup and stuff. Uh-huh. So they flew me out. I went directly from the airport to the studio, did the test, and got hired on the spot. I was told they looked at 500 kids, but they only looked at me once. So I went straight out to the interview.
That's awesome. How was it like, being so young? You were 8 years old when you started this. How was it, for your childhood years, being so young?
Prior to the Munsters, I did a year at the General Hospital in 1961. Then I did a year of the Real McCoys in 1963. And then when I was 11, I started doing the Munsters. It was 1964.
Now, were you in a movie with Eddie Albert, too, from Green Acres?
Eddie Albert I worked with him twice prior to that. I did the Real McCoys with Walter Brennan and Richard Crenna.
Right.
Eddie Albert worked with me on, let me see, The Time of the Apostles, and he also was in my first movie called The Two Little Bears.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
With Jane Wyatt and Soupy Sales.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Soupy Sales. Oh, my gosh, a classic guy of comedy.
And Brenda Lee was my sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. So that's classic actors.
It was a good show. But, it's funny, when you bring that up, one of the things was living with my grandma when I would go back east to stay with her. Mm-hmm. Second time after the Munsters, I went back and she had moved to this big Victorian house, which is currently one of my projects this year because it's vacant and it's up for sale and it's haunted. And I'm going to acquire it, move back to Macon, Missouri for a year or so, get the house back in order, and use it as a base of operations, kind of like a paranormal mission control. And I'm also going to do a syndicated radio show out of it. About once a month, I'll record 4 hours of shows and have a mixer on the property. It's kind of cool.
Oh, that's really neat. Well, listen, we have a couple questions from our peanut gallery. One is from an aspiring actress. Actually, she's done quite a bit of commercials in California and here. Her name is Lacey Elaney Stevens. No relation to me, I think. And she's got a question because she started acting at the age of 2. She did a couple, those Living Spaces commercials, Butch, there in Los Angeles?
Yep.
Well, when they first got started back in 2004, she was 2 years old, and she had a couple lines there. And so she had a quick question because she wanted to ask you about a little bit about your childhood acting. Go ahead, Lacey.
Hi. Hi. I was just wondering, when you went into any audition when you were younger, were you ever nervous or scared?
That's a good question.
Very good question, Lacey.
No, actually, for me, for some reason, I didn't have any issues with hanging around adults or being intimidated in interviews, and I think that was one of the reasons I was so successful. That I didn't get what would be the word? I didn't get intimidated. I didn't get scared. I would just walk in and do my job and come out, and hopefully it went well. And luckily for me, about 75% of the time I get the job. That was pretty good for. There weren't that many kids in the business back then, so there was maybe 20 or 30 kids that were working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But thank you for that question, though.
Well, thank you, Lacey.
Yeah.
Do you get nervous, Lacey?
Sometimes.
No, you have good days. She's a good actress. She's quite a mover and a shaker, and she's doing a lot of voiceover stuff throughout the Tampa area lately. She's been booking some commercials on that.
That's great.
And I know that we have Samantha, and Samantha wants to come in from the Peanut Gallery and ask you a quick question here.
Mm-hmm.
So pop on over here on the hot seat.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Samantha.
Hi, how are you?
So Sam's got a quick question here for you. Go ahead.
Okay, pretty much all my questions were answered, believe it or not.
Oh, my gosh.
In the first little bit here of the show. But basically, I was going to ask the same thing. Were you nervous as a child? You were absolutely adorable. Not saying you're not handsome now. Let's not get that misconstrued. But you, as a child, so you've never came across any parts where you were nervous during your auditions at all?
The only thing that I didn't like doing, I hated crying. So whenever I would see a scene or a script that I was going to read where I knew there was going to be a crying scene, I was definitely not a happy camper because I never really mastered the art of crying. But luckily, when I did have to do it, I could muster up some tears, but I would prefer not to. I was usually a pretty happy kid. So I would get nervous when tears were involved, definitely.
You know what? I am actually glad that you said that because I myself have been looking for some castings, and for you to say that about the crying part, that's the thing that I'm like, what do I do? What do I think about to make me cry? I'm like this happy-go-lucky person.
I know.
You carry an onion in your pocket.
Exactly.
What do you think
or
about?
just pretend like you didn't get the job.
Right.
That'll throw it right to you.
That's what you do.
But on the set, like, what would you think to make you cry? What did you think? What did you think, Eddie? Patrick? Butch?
Butch.
Look, I don't even know what to call you
now
anymore.
that my grandma's deceased, I can tell you, but I used to think of a funeral. I'd imagine that I was at my grandma's funeral.
Nice.
So
Not nice,
I take it
but I
you
understand.
and your grandmother were very close.
Yes, we were.
Was this your
That's
mom?
one of the reasons it's one of the reasons I'm taking this house project on. Not so much for the house, and not so much that I want to move to Macon, Missouri, but I want to keep the house intact because she loved that old house, and they were going to knock it down.
Oh wow! And you say it's haunted?
Oh, it's definitely haunted. My sister's seen the ghost. My grandma saw the ghost. We had a professional paranormal team come in and found 13 entities. Originally, we were going to turn it into a haunted bed and breakfast, but I didn't want to get tied to a bed and breakfast because that's really
cool.
a lot of work. So I'm going to restore the home, live in it, but once a month I'm going to have a mixer on the property. I like to consider it's like Eddie Munster meets Andy of Mayberry in the Twilight Zone.
That'd make a good TV series. We'll produce it. My production company, Matt and I will put it
I'll
together.
hang out for that one.
Yeah, we'll come out and do it as a reality show for you.
There you go.
Is that in your book at all?
Yes, it is.
Very
nice.
cool.
I'm gonna have to get that.
Well, I do have a question
I think
as well,
we got a
another
TV.
one.
I think we have a TV deal in the making here.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Yeah, but you and I are going to have to talk afterwards.
Fred was, I loved him. I loved Herman Munster. He was great. Don't you guys? He was great. My cousin Vinny, Carter 54, where are you? I grew up
The two what?
with my cousin.
The two what?
I know. Yeah.
The Utes.
Loved
The two
him.
Utes? Yeah, the two Utes. Yeah,
I
the
love
two
him.
Utes.
I grew up, my cousin and me, used to sit around when Nick at Night actually was really good. We used to watch like Donna Reed, the Munsters, all that, Car 54, stuff like that. So big fan.
One of the things for your listeners, if they want to see the house, there's a very easy to find sizzle reel on YouTube.
Okay.
All you do is put in Butch Patrick's Haunted House, and there's a 7-minute sizzle reel.
I'm gonna have to check
featuring
that
my
out.
sister.
Well, I do have a question. Fred Gwynn, right?
Mhm.
What is the one thing that he said to you, during your career that maybe stayed with you, throughout all these years? What, maybe some acting advice or maybe something about your own career? Did he ever say anything cool like that to you? I can imagine he did.
Yeah, he did. He taught me some very basic acting stuff, like how to laugh and He didn't teach me how to cry, but he taught me how to laugh. And then extending a laugh is almost like a crying.
Okay.
They're very similar. So you can actually act like you're laughing and turn it into a cry pretty easily.
I got
So
you.
it was very beneficial in that. But what he taught me was to never trust the suits, never trust the producers. They were the enemy.
Right. Now, what about Al Lewis?
They're the actors and they're the suits.
There you go.
How about
There you
Al
go,
Lewis,
yeah.
Grandpa?
Good way to put it.
Did he teach you, how to make some cool medicines or what?
It's funny these days now. In those days, things were so simple and so naive, and that you couldn't be right. If you today you couldn't write a script about Grandpa in the dungeon making go-go pills,
Right.
it just wouldn't work.
I got you.
But back then it was so simple, and it was people. It was just a simpler time that he taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about sports. He taught me to have a good time, not to take too much seriously. He taught me some professional things about being on time, being professional, being prepared.
Did you
a lot
say
of things like that.
sports? Did you say
Did I what?
Sports?
Yeah, he was a huge sports fan. He was actually a scout for 4 NBA teams. He was on the payroll for basketball. He was
Wow.
huge.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Hey, Butch, I know Pat Priest played Marilyn. Who was the gal that
The
played
second Maryland.
Yeah, she was the second one. Yeah, my question was just that. Who was the first Marilyn? Because in my opinion, Pat Priest is very good looking, but the first gal was absolute knockout. What was her name and why did she leave?
Beverly Owen was her name, and she basically went out to do the pilot, never thinking it would be picked up because she had a life in New York City. She was in love. Her husband worked for Captain Kangaroo, her husband-to-be. And when she got the part, she didn't want to be in California. She wanted to be in New York, and she was miserable. So after 13 weeks of this, Fred and Al went to the producers and said, if you don't let this woman out of her contract, this is like harsh and unusual punishment. If you don't let her go back to New York and be with her husband, we'll quit the show, and you won't even have a show. So they basically strong-armed them, and they let her out of the show, but they never canceled their contract, so she never worked again. So basically, they kind of blackballed her, and at the same time, Fred and Al, Pat Priest stepped in, did a wonderful job, but the series changed gears a little bit with that because the first Marilyn, the scripts were written more about this beautiful blonde looking to find a boyfriend and then running off, and then when the second Marilyn, Pat Priest stepped in, it shifted gears to where the other monsters became more dominant.
Yeah, with good storylines. They, you know how the master of television back then. You had like what Bob Connolly and Bob Mosher. Is that right?
Yeah, Joe and Bob.
Joe Connolly and Bob Mosher, right? And they were that. Gosh, they did everything from the Munsters to Ironsides to Leave It to Beaver. What a incredible creative team that those guys came up with to put all that together. That was.
Real quick, how was it working with Sid and Marty Krofft? Because
that's right, Lidsville.
And I'll tell you, I grew up watching that every Saturday morning. It was like the Nickelodeon of its time. It was great, puffin stuff, and I loved it. How was that?
Yeah, Lidsville was an interesting summer of ’71, no doubt. Charles Nelson Riley was interesting. Buddy had a crush on me. Billy
Well, he had a crush
Billy
on you, and I
Yes,
had a
he did.
crush on you. That works out.
And I had a crush on Kim.
Yours I would have liked. But so Charles and I, we got along fine, but he did. He had a crush on me. He didn't care who knew it, and he hugged me and gave me a kiss on the cheek every morning, and I tried to avoid him, but I never he'd sneak up on me. But Sid and Marty were great. They were wonderful people to work for, and I still enjoy watching the reruns myself.
He was on the Match Game, too, wasn't he?
They were very psychedelic. They were very psychedelic motivated shows.
There's a picture of you and my dear friend Billy Hayes. God rest her soul.
He's a cutie pie.
Well, Billy
He's still
Hayes.
alive.
Billy's still with us? Someone
Yes.
told me she passed away. Oh, well, Billy, if you're watching this, I love you and I miss you. We used to have the same agent, and we were friends 20 some odd years ago. And I love because she also played Witchy Poo and had that real distinctive laugh. And then when they did Little Abner, she played Mammy Yokum, and she has that real. There's a picture of Butch and Billy right there, and she's just wonderful spirit. What a great gal, and I just loved her to death.
When you were on the set, did you work with people like Paul Lynde and Ruth Buzzy? Did you cross paths? Because they were all on that show, weren't not on the Linsville, but in the Sid and
Marty Crawford.
Yeah.
They followed up. The Cross would do one show at a time. So they did public stuff for, it was just an 11-week shoot, and that year, then the next year they did the Bugaloos, and the year after that they did Lidsville, then they went to Sigma and the Land of the Lost, and so on and so on.
So you only did Lidsville for one season?
11 weeks.
Wow. And as a kid, I thought that thing went on forever.
Rerun.
It did. They reran the heck out of it.
11 shows and another 11 and 11 and 11. It's like number 9. Kim, you said you had another question for him?
Well, I have a couple questions.
Okay, go right
for him.
ahead. Go right ahead.
Am I allowed?
Of course. It's Ian and Kim. There you go.
Am I allowed, Butch?
Oh,
I want to say thank you, Butch. I got to get back out and produce the show. But thank you very much for answering my questions.
Thanks, Sam.
thanks, Sam. Get back to work.
You always have great questions.
I know. It's always you're knocking off my logo here. What's the deal here? Pick that up.
So I see that you ride a motorcycle. Is that true?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Very cool. So you come down here for bike weeks? You come down to Daytona, or how does that work? You go to
I
Sturgis?
I've been to Sturgis and Laconia and Bike Week. I haven't been down to Bike Week lately. Did the Daytona 500 a couple times.
Nice.
But yeah, I do ride bikes whenever possible. Sure.
Very cool.
So when you go to do the Sturgis thing, do you go up to that? What's that full throttle saloon up there?
Yeah. I've been up there.
Well, that was bad.
Deadwood.
When I was in Sturgis, I hadn't gotten sober yet. So, yeah, I was out drinking back then. But,
Wow.
I haven't actually been back since I got sober, which has been 3.5 years ago.
I played the nickel whatchamajiggers, the slots or whatever.
Months of slots.
Yeah, the nickel ones down, what is it, Deadwood? Down in there. I went down there and I saw Mount Rushmore. That was really cool. I really had a good time. I used to ride, but I got in a car accident. I got a motorcycle accident.
One of the cool things about being on the Munsters was the fact that it has so many different diversified connections with Americana. I do car shows because we had hot rods. I have a new ink line. I've seen so many Munster tattoos on people that a guy developed a line of ink for me. I'm going to Liverpool next week for a tattoo convention, so I'm interested in tattoo and ink now. And this paranormal thing with the haunted house is really lending another new set of group of people to work with. So I'm very excited that I have now 6 or 7 different avenues to pursue the Munster stories and, to be honest with you, business.
Yeah. I'm interested in the haunted house.
We have our floor producer, Matt Ayotte, has a question here for you, Butch. So, Matt, ask away.
Hey, Butch, it's Matt. Where are you from originally? You can't be from California originally.
Yeah, I was born in Inglewood, California.
Hey,
No way. How about that?
Inglewood.
That backfired on me.
See?
And you stayed there your whole life then, huh?
No, well, yes, I was born and raised here, but I lived in Illinois, and I've lived in Missouri, and I lived in D.C. My dad was a pro ball player back with the old Washington Senators.
Wow.
And I lived in Tampa, Atlanta, Austin, Vegas, Phoenix. I lived all kinds of places.
Wow, how many years did he play pro ball?
He played 5 years. He came up with the Yankees. He was Mickey Mantle's roommate. He's very next to Roger Maris, and he was the 59 Yankees. And in 60, he went to the Angels in the expansion. Then he wound up with the Washington Senators.
Wow, that's awesome. Go Yankees. I'm a big Yankees fan.
Yeah, no kidding. Pinstripes are in his underwear.
It was really a cool time because for me, when I wasn't at the set, I could go down to the ballpark and shag flies with the likes of Gil Hodges and Frank Howard, and Don Zimmer was playing third base back then. It was really funny.
Oh. Players were more accessible then, probably, huh?
Yeah, it was a whole different world. A lot of them had second jobs. They were, the average salary was $30,000-$40,000 a year. They weren't today's craziness and the world that we know today. But back then, it was very accessible. Yeah, they were the last generation of the really hard drinking, hard partying guys that would go out and play ball the next day.
My very first baseball game, my dad took me in 1967 to go see the Giants play the Dodgers. No, Giants versus Cardinals at Candlestick Park. And Candlestick Park wasn't in complete enclosed stadium yet. They had the left field and right field pavilion. And Willie Mays hit a home run ball, which my brother got, was the number 424, something like that. That's cool. Afterward, we went back, where the guys were coming out of the locker room to get him to autograph it. And old Willie Mays came out and didn't even look at any of the fans, got in his Dodge Challenger and sped off. And I just broke my heart. I was 9 years old. I'm telling you, Willie, you broke my heart, Willie. Say it ain't so, say hey, kid. But I'm doing. See, I'm working on my crying. Is that good? Was my crying good?
It's good. Very good. Very good. Always exhale.
Thank you. I'm telling you, man. I think I got the job. Kim, you said
I have a couple more questions, and just they're easy peasy.
Okay.
So, do you like horror movies yourself? And if
Not especially.
Really?
No, I'm not a big horror movie nut. I mean, I enjoy the funny horror movies like Alvin Costello Meets Frankenstein and, the classic Wolfman and The Creature and stuff like that maybe. But as far as the modern day guts and gore, I'm not a big fan of that at all.
Okay, so if you go to the movies, then I think your fans would be interested to know what would you go see? If you were going to go to the movies, let's say this weekend or something, would it be like the Avengers or Spider-Man?
Let's see. This week, let me see. What did I see last week? I went and saw. I see a lot of movies. What did I go see last week? Oh, I went and saw. What did we go see?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know, I was yelling at my sister.
You didn't. I didn't get an invite. I don't know. Did you get the invitation?
What was it?
No.
Well, let me ask you something, Butch. Because you're
remember. I can't
working
remember.
on
I'm
the
That's
paranormal
cool.
stuff, doesn't like movies like The Conjuring or Insidious kind of wake
No.
up your soul a little bit to get a little scared there, without being blood and gore or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, we went and saw the Grand Budapest Hotel. That's what I saw.
Ah,
I like
okay.
comedy. I
You like comedy? I gotcha.
I like documentaries on certain subjects. Scary movies is not my forte.
Okay.
But, but I mean, I love The Exorcist. I like a good thriller. I like Shining. I like Psycho.
Oh, those are good. I
that
like
kind of
those.
stuff.
Classics,
That
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Alfred Hitchcock classics, you
Okay.
bet.
Have you ever told your fans what kind of music that you like? Because I bet you they would like to know that too.
I have a big Beatles collection. That might
Ooh.
piss you off.
I know.
Hello, Ringo. That's what's
It's a Beatle theme.
I am. I love
This
my
one.
Beatles. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually do a lot of work with Louise Harrison, George Harrison's sister, for environmental stuff, and
Mhm.
I've seen some of the coolest home movies of George and the Beatles from way back when. That's just amazing.
I was
I'm going to Liverpool next week. I'm going to Liverpool. I'm very excited.
Oh, good for you, man. I was
There
going to
you
do an
have it.
interview with Louise before she moved from St. Petersburg, I believe, or she was living, or no, Sarasota.
Sarasota,
And
yeah.
she moved to Missouri, to Branson, I believe. And I was hoping to get her before she head up. But next time you see her, tell her I say hey, because she was very accessible when she was here, and I was hoping to get her before then. But what was really funny was that when she lived in Illinois, our family lived in Illinois just for 1 year, and it was the year that when George came to visit her sister. To think that he was 30 miles away, and he was a
years
Beatle,
old,
but it
yeah.
was before they came with the Ed Sullivan. He was checking them out, and he was saying. He went back to John and Paul and Ringo and said, "They don't know us. They don't know us in the States. I went to the record store, and they don't know us at all."
Mhm.
I said, "I want Billy J. Kramer and the Beatles, and they just don't know us. They're guffab and all that rubbish."
How about Ringo's album when it was a solo?
Well,
when
there
I was
you
a
go.
kid. It was called Rack My Brain or
I'm
something.
telling you.
So I'm going to go ahead and post the Munster Memories on the Talking.
Please do.
I'm going to do that so we can get some pictures and some information for your book. I look forward to that. I look forward to checking out this Munster house as well. I find
Oh,
that
I know.
I'm
Well, we
really
need to talk. If we're going to do a
interested in that
documentary, we're
now.
going to talk about that because that'd be great. I love that kind of stuff, paranormal stuff. I'm not into blood and gore, but I like paranormal stuff. That just goes to show you. Sorry. Well, listen, Butch, thank you so much for your time today. And when we mentioned that you were going to be on the show today, my phone has been literally off the hook, and all the great responses I know that Kim and I have been getting this week, because you really have a wonderful fan base out there that really love you and hold a lot of fond memories for all
Yes,
that you
they
did
do.
throughout Hollywood, and not just with the Monsters, but all the other works you've been doing with Lidsville and working as a producer and that kind of stuff. Are you still working in the industry as a producer and director? Real quick.
It's there, but I don't go on auditions, and projects are coming across my desk, and I kind of package things up and send them and delegate them out. So I'm on the fringes, but I am going to do 26 episodes for a guy up in Carmel after I come back from Liverpool, hosting, believe it or not, a jungle movie series of shows. And this guy's a big fan. He wants to do like a Johnny Weissmuller or Tarzan type thing, where Elvira does her scary movies. He wants me to host Tarzan movies. I told him I would do it because I like the idea he's got, and his wife invented Airborne, and they want me to be maybe a spokesperson for their new product.
Where can we see
funny.
that?
Well, and also too,
Where can we see it?
Can we see that on your website too, Eddie? I mean, Bitch.
That's not on my website. That'll be up at the end of May.
Okay. The other thing too is we're going to hook you up with Dan Roebuck. Dan Roebuck's going to be on 2 weeks. He's got the Dr. Shocker. His alter ego, like Cassandra Peterson has Elvira. He's got Dr. Shocker, and he's really promoting that out really well. And I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, he does a great job.
He does. Oh yeah, he's good stuff. And he
I
utilizes all
I
the.
saw Danny a couple of weeks ago at Monster Palooza. He's always a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, he's one of my
Yeah,
dearest
he is.
friends. So we need, one of my partners, Tammy, who they're kind of seeing each other. She's out there doing right now, and they're getting some things done. They just edited his shockumentary, which I did the Boris Karloff voiceover for his shockumentary. So I got to do my antipasto and had a great time doing it. So it was great. But again, Butch, thank you so much for your time. And
thank you. And I'll post that information for you. We'll keep in touch, and we'll just keep plugging along for you and posting.
Most
and
definitely.
Really appreciate you coming on and
thanks
do.
for
I
taking us
appreciate it
down
very
memory
much. It's been
lane
great.
and.
definitely.
And stay tuned because we're kind of keeping in the theme with the little monster here with the Munsters, as well as Len Gibson, who's been wrote her trilogy, or I don't know if it's a trilogy, but it's a series of books on vampires. The first one was to be his soulmate, which is right here, and Lynn will be.
Oh,
on
I
there.
have to say something. Butch, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, just real quick. Wanda and Doug want to say hi.
Vaders.
The Vaders. Are they there?
Yeah, they want to say
They're on the line?
No, I don't. They wanted to just me to say to them.
Oh, to them. Oh, so it's a shout out. It's a shout out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's called a shout out, Kim. We have a shout out from Doug and Wanda Vaders.
I'm not up with the lingo.
Well, that's why I'm here. I'm older than you, and I'm hip.
Well, I'm glad that you keep up. I don't.
Because I'm hip, baby. That's what it is.
I don't have time for the lingo.
Yes, yes, it is. Of course.
Shout out to.
Well,
Butch.
thanks again, Butch. Thanks so much, and we'll be in touch about some other things. And stay safe, my friend.
You got it, my friend. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Well, in keeping with the theme of what's going on, we're rocking in the whole horror thing, and
vampires are getting to be pretty sexy these days.
That's right. With Al Lewis, who played.
Are you a vampire?
I can be. If you want me to be Count Dracula, no problem. I'll do that for you. Come to my castle in Transylvania.
Do you see what I have to deal with over here? Please
right.
help me.
Help. Yeah, help you? Okay, great. So, this is To Be His Soulmate. And we have with us our next guest is
Lynn
Miss
Seal Gibson.
Lynn Seal Gibson right here. And so anyway, we're really excited about her being on the show. And actually, she even signed it for you.
Yes, she did.
It says, to Kim. May I read this? May I be so bold as to read?
If you want to.
Okay. So glad we met. Enjoyed the road. When did you guys go out drinking or something?
I walked the pathway of a road
Best
with her.
wishes in Vampire Garden. Okay. Do not fear the dark, for you are never truly alone.
Lynn, are you there? Please save
your
me.
Fear, and you will find strength with your greatest time of need.
Are you there? Hey.
Are you there, Lynn? My bad connection. Lynn, are you there, honey?
She lives in Louisiana. She's got to pass over some swamps and.
Yeah, you got to pass the gators and stuff.
Yeah. You know.
We have a bad connection. Is there any way you're trying to, Lynn? If you can hear me, go ahead and hang up, and we're going to have our producer Gary try to call you again.
Yeah, hang up.
Go ahead and hang up.
I'm going to talk about you a little longer.
Okay.
Just hang up and call back.
I want to finish reading this little insight. She says, I'm going to do it in my best dramatic voice. Do not fear the dark, for you are never truly alone. Save your fear, for in it you will find strength with your greatest time of need. Lynn Gibson.
That's pretty creepy.
You like this? Okay. I could read it like Eddie.
After Dark with Ian.
Hey, that's another whole new show. After Dark with Ian. Ah!
That's all scary.
But I could read it like
Don't y'all think?
I could read it like Eddie Deason and go, hey, do not fear the dark, for you are never truly alone.
That's more enjoyable.
That's it? Okay. Lynn, are you there?
Give me my book back.
How are you guys?
There you go.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. You guys had a great show with Butch Patrick. I was listening in. That was
Very
awesome.
Cool. Very cool. So
It's
you're
cool,
over
guy.
in Louisiana.
And you live
I'm in Independence. I'm about 40 miles north of the big city, New Orleans.
Ooh, so you have a little bit of that. Did Anne Rice have a great influence on your life in writing about vampires and like the interview with the vampire that started in New Orleans?
She didn't start me off, but she absolutely did have a big influence on me. I was kind of born into it, I guess.
How's that? Was your dad Dracula?
Not quite. Of course, there were probably a few moments in high school where he could have been. Yeah.
Well, tell me how you got started into that. I mean, that sounds really kind of cool that that you were able to write a number of stories regarding the whole vampire lore.
We're going on your third one now, right?
I actually have finished the trilogy, the Adrian trilogy, which the book that you guys have with you tonight, that's volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
Volume 2 is coming out a little bit later this summer. We're real excited about that. So the fourth book that I finished is something different, but it is still horror-based. I am a horror genre writer, and I don't see myself wandering from that.
Are you coming out to Orlando this year? Because I know a couple people had asked me about, what is it, the Mayhem or something? Or where is that? Is that Orlando?
Right.
Is that Orlando?
Right. Mayhem is the May version of Spooky Empire, where you and I met in October.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm really glad that I met you.
Right. Me too, definitely. They have the convention there twice a year. It's a bigger event in May than it is in October, believe it or not. I guess because more kids are out of school or whatever. But it will be a huge event. They're already starting to put together the guest list, and I am slated to be there.
That's very cool. So you'll have all your books there too as well.
Well, Lynn, I'm just kind of curious. What was the spark that got the fire going in your interest in the macabre as far as Dracula or vampires were concerned? What started it all, and when and where?
Golly, Ian, I guess it's genetic. I can't say that it came from either of my parents, but I've always written that. I've always been drawn to the paranormal and drawn to the darker side of things. I grew up, of course, watching William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, and then all the Friday the 13th and the Michael Myers. So that was my era.
Have you had any experiences yourself, though?
I have had a few, not vampire experiences, not yet, but there's hope, right?
Yeah.
A few paranormal experiences, but the thing that really sparked me off with getting my series off the ground was watching these newer versions of the vampire that are coming out that are just they're not the vampire. They have no vampire characteristics. They're just society based, and they sparkle, for God's sakes. That's just not right. So at that point, I put my foot down and I started writing the trilogy.
Well, I know vampires are really hot right now. So what separates your book between everybody else's? What can you tell our audiences out here that to get them, interested in your books? What separates them?
The difference between mine is they do go back to their true roots. There are several different vampire origination theories that I've researched. And Christian, which is one of the main characters of the book, he's on the cover of the book. He was cursed, like many of the origination theories begin, by a deity thousands of years ago. And the book starts off in modern times in the area where I'm at, but it does bounce back and forth through history, and you can kind of see the evolution of the vampire. But it stops like in the 90s. He's very comparable to Anne Rice's characters. To me, she has the most realistic personification of a vampire that there was, and it hasn't been matched as of yet.
Now, Lynn, have you had a chance to journey to Transylvania and Romania to see the Count's house and all the other ghoulish people that would live in the castle there?
I have not had the opportunity to do that, but it's on my list.
Right.
I'd actually like to go to Egypt first because that's where the vampire truly originated
Really?
from. Absolutely. Sure enough. Lilith is the most common vampire origination theory. Of course, there's the Cain and the Judas and all those, but that's all based back in, before Christ walked the earth. So those legends have been around for longer than the Bible.
I did not know they had people that wanted to suck blood down in the Egypt of the Queen of the Nile.
That's right.
I'm going to get him some V8 juice here in a second.
That'd be great. A little tomato action, kind of like sound like blood or something. That's cool. But I guess so. What you're telling me, Lynn, or us, I should say, is that your characters are very subtle as far as who they are and what they represent in the genre of vampire, without being so blatantly overtoned with the vampire theme. Is that what you're saying, pretty much?
Not if you said lamely overtoned, then yes, you're correct. They're not lame. They are vicious. They're an organized race that has survived for thousands of years, and the books begin with giving you some of that background, and then it brings it to modern times. And the series just bounces back and forth through history, but it is a 18 and over book. It is very vicious. It is very violent. It's got high sexual content in it, so it's a really good book.
Yeah, so if I need my libido to be just know what book to read this week. That's right. Oh, I like that.
Well, the women will like that.
Well, it was kind of cool.
50 Shades of Grey, a lot of the women liked that, but I think the men liked it more.
Or if women were from Venus.
But I think the men might even like this just
so
as well.
The Mars and Venus
situation.
theory has taught us the window. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Oh my
Jeff,
gosh.
you have a very valid point there. I
Thank
had a
you.
little bit of concern about the cover. Of course, every female on the planet was going to grab that book because of the cover.
I know.
But I've had a lot of male readers that came back and were really surprised and said, this was not what I thought it was going to be. This is really good. When can I get the second one?
Well, I talked to a
You
lot
know?
of men, like even with the other book, and they're like,
Yes.
they want to know why women are reading these books. So it's the same situation, right? They want to know why.
I just love his six-pack myself. You know what's interesting? When I saw the book from a distance, I actually thought it was Kevin Sorbo, who played
Oh.
was
Yeah,
it
I
Tarzan
see
or
the
whatever it was?
resemblance,
Yeah,
right?
he's got that kind of that a la Fabio feeling. Is that he's not really this bother, It's not really bother, kind of thing happening there.
Yes.
And
Don't
he's
be
got a
fooled by
wonderful
that.
six-pack
I assure
here.
you, he's very vicious.
Ladies.
Yes,
there.
six pack right here. I always tell people I have a $1 million figure, but it's all in loose change. But don't.
She's giving this book away, too,
Hey,
tonight.
we got a book giveaway.
Yes, we
Right,
do.
that's right. Actually, I have a question
Okay.
that there's a lot of readers out there that already own the volume that you guys are holding up.
Right,
so
that's
if
what
they
you're
are
saying.
able to answer this question,
Here you go,
and
folks.
when Adrian's Fury launches a little bit later this summer, I will send them an autographed copy.
That's
and
really
that
cool.
question would be, how many members are there in the Vampire Parliament in total? That's the prize question.
There they go. Now, where they have to contact to answer that with you, right? Online.
Right. They need to get on my fan page, and that's at facebook.com/author Lynn Gibson, and they can inbox that to me.
Okay, now
First
what
one
about
with
the people?
answer wins.
What about the people that are listening tonight, right, folks, that maybe want to read your book, but we need a website or something. How can they get to you?
Of course, through my fan page, and a big shout out to my publisher, Miss Donna Quesenberry, who owns Donna Ink Publishing or Publications. Excuse me. It's on her site, which is donnaink.org, and of course on Amazon.com, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble.
Oh, Books a
pretty
Million,
much-
great. Yeah.
Right. It's pretty much on every major vendor website right now.
That's
Cool.
And as a matter of fact, we just launched the ebook version on Amazon. So if you guys out there have Kindles, it's ready to go and sitting there waiting.
Yeah, I
for
know
you.
a lot of friends that are doing that now. They're big readers using that.
Right.
Lynn, is
They,
there-
get, they get to collect more books and not have to dust them. It's great.
Is there anything about your trilogy, Lynn, that you would like your readers to know that may not be obviously out there for them to understand the concept or the things you've written in your book? What would be something that you would like to just maybe an inside secret or a trade that you figure that would kind of enhance the reader when they're reading your books?
Well, there's a lot of legend that is interwoven into the story. And let me kind of branch off on the legend there. I do research vampire history, and I have a blog that is authorlyngibson.wordpress.com, to where I research history of legends, vampire legends in different countries, different states, just all over the world. As a matter of fact, there's a professor in India that teaches his college class that has his class reference my material.
Cool.
Certain times of the year to do theme papers and things like that with, that's really cool. But when I say there's legend and lore in that book, it's been researched. I don't just take one story. I will take that one story and find how many references in history, that I can associate with it. When it looks like it's valid, then that's something that I'll blog and give the background and the history on.
Since Twilight is really popular and the whole vampire genre over the years have, ever since, even before Bela Lugosi, has anyone approached you about possibly turning your trilogy into a movie series at all?
I've had a lot of fans and followers ask that, and of course I would love to see it. It would make a fantastic series. But no, not yet. I'm hopeful.
Especially with the guy on the cover.
Yeah, anybody looks like Kevin Sorbo and Fabio Mix, you just can't go wrong. Telling
That's
you.
right.
The women
Everybody
are
will
gonna
be
love
tuning
this
in,
guy.
right?
What's that, Lynn?
Everyone would certainly tune in then.
Oh, definitely. If we can get him and you on the show, then I think we have a go. Do you ever get your weight? Do you ever fly down here into Tampa from time to time?
I have not been in Tampa in quite a while, but I'm looking forward to doing a lot of touring this year. I'm supposed to be going to several different cons all over the place. I let my publisher take care of that. She just kind of tells me where I'm going when, so it could happen.
Well, that would be great because if Tampa's on the map, we'd love to have you stop in on a Sunday night with us. And we have. It seems that Kim and I have a Grease / Munster genre over the course of the next couple of weeks because we've had some other members.
The
Munster part too, but we had and we have because in a couple of weeks we have Danny Roebuck who is going to be on our show, and also the author of Boris Karloff and his life story. His name is Gord Shriver. He's from Atlanta. And actually, Gordon and I used to do melodramas in high school together. So we've known each other since 1974. But a great individual, wonderful writer. His book on the history and life of Boris Karloff went, I think it was a New York bestseller. I'm almost sure of it. But if not, it's a great read. He sent me a copy, and he's going to be flying in for our show in 2 weeks when Danny's on and to help promote Dr. Shocker and his alter ego, as well as Gordon being here in-house to do an in-house interview. So, it's been exciting to see kind of this thing happening. I know it's always been, the monster movie my dad and my uncles did a lot of that kind of stuff in the 50s and 60s when they worked on, Creature of the Black Lagoon and other monster movies that were out there and involved with special effects, that kind of stuff. So
Family's been involved with this forever.
Yeah, since before there was hair.
So, Lynn, do you have a quick story maybe that you can tell us? Maybe some folklore, just a legend maybe you can tell some of our listeners tonight that are listening to you, something that maybe we've never heard, because you're, a vampire historian. Maybe you have something that you'd like to share.
Absolutely. You said that
I'm gonna pop him
there's
in the head.
a huge following for the vampire culture. Well, I live 40 minutes away from one of the largest vampire cultures in the United States, and that, of course, is New Orleans. New Orleans has vampire legend that go back as far as when the cobbles were being laid in the streets of the French quarters.
My mom took me to, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but I've been to New Orleans with my mom when I was 12, and we went to the grave site there. It was absolutely beautiful.
You went to Marie Laveau's gravesite?
It was by Bourbon Street or something. I don't remember. I was a kid, but I got pictures of it. But it's somewhere around that area. They were all above ground. They were really just cool looking.
Were you dying to get in?
Yes.
There are active legends right now, or active rumors that there are vampires in that cemetery at the moment.
Oh wow!
The most common legend that you'll hear out here is about Jacques de Comte Germain.
One more time?
That's Saint Germain. Actually, there's a street named Saint Germain around the French Quarter. He's got a history back as far as I could trace to the year 1230. But there are rumors that he was around before then. Some people say he was there at the crucifixion. I'm not sure of that. I can't find enough evidence.
Wow.
But Jacques was born in the early 1700s and moved to New Orleans after having been all around the country. But he moved to New Orleans in 1902 and had a brief stay there until he was caught having lunch or having dinner with a bar waitress, I guess you would say, from the French Quarter.
A barmaid.
I think that was in 1914.
Ian's going to be a vampire all week.
he got caught, so but he has been back since then. He was spotted in the French Quarter in the 80s and then again in the 90s, and there's active rumors that he's around today. So Vampire Jack, he's called these
maybe
days.
if you call him up and ask him over for dinner, I'm sure he'd accept.
Well, I'd like definitely people to be active with you, Lynn. So can we go ahead and give a shout out one more time with your website, Amazon, anywhere that they can connect with you, hear all your stories, get to know you. You're a very fascinating woman. I was so blessed to have met you in Orlando at Spooky Empire. I definitely want to have you back on. I know.
And I want to have her for dinner, That way we can talk about anything.
I know. We'll get you V8 and an olive. And other than that, just go ahead and give a shout out one more time on those websites and how to contact you.
Okay. The best way to get me is www.facebook.com/author Lynn Gibson and then authorlyngibson.wordpress.com. And if in doubt, you can always go to Google and just type in author Lynn Gibson, and you can find me and my work everywhere there.
Very cool. And you're going to be in Orlando. She's going to be in Orlando, too. So go.
Okay, cool.
And do you know the dates on that really quick for the people that live in Florida that come see you?
I think it's the end of May. I think the last 2 days of May and the first day of June, I believe.
Okay.
And Lynn, are you on Facebook that you like to invite more vampire friends to connect with you?
I want to suck
Hey,
your
the
blood.
more the merrier.
Oh, great.
The
So
more
make
the
sure
merrier.
They got me.
make sure you friend me if you haven't already, and then because I have a lot of my universal friends that like the basic Dracula, Frankenstein, Hunchback of Notre Dame type stuff, and this would just be an added bonus to
I
their.
thought I was your only friend.
You are in certain circles. Don't get pushy.
I know. I'm just teasing him.
Nah, you teasing some
Great.
cousin.
I'll make sure I do that, certainly. I thank you guys for having me on. This was a blast.
Oh, Lynn, thanks so much. I really appreciate you sharing your heart and your soul with us, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's been a great night.
One quick question, because for me, I don't know. Some people thought it was the most cheesiest movie around, but what did you? I personally liked Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula with Gary Oldman. Did you like that movie at all?
I loved it.
I actually did, just because he stayed very close to the original storylines. Yes.
I did too. I thought he did a magical job with it, and a lot of people thought, it's too campy. I mean, yeah, maybe it might have changed Keanu Reeves' character with another more. Keanu Reeves does not do a British accent to save his life, but be that as it may, the storyline was good, the special effects were good, and I thought Gary Oldman did a fantastic job playing Count Dracula, like Vladimir. Well. Yes, of course.
Yeah, and there's a lot behind
the
story
transition
on
of
that
how he got into becoming Dracula. I just like the backstory to that. I love those kind of things, and that was kind of cool. So, but then thank you so much. I mean, thanks for again to Butch Patrick and to Lynn. You guys are just really wonderful to spend your time
with Butch on his
website and his
book
and his paranormal thing.
Yes.
Right. He's got a thing coming up in Missouri for his grandmother's house.
Send your photos to him. I'll go ahead and post the address again for you guys. The same with Lynn. I'm going to post her information on the Talk Inc. website as well, just in case you missed that tonight. We're going to give you all the information again. It'll be right on Talk Inc. Look us up on Facebook. It's very easy. Just in the search engine, just Talk Inc.
So thanks out to Lynn and Butch. And just to kind of give you an update for next week, tune in. We have Mr. Barry Pearl, who is another Grease cast alumni who played Duty in Grease. And we may have some nice fun surprises with that show too as well, as we always do here, because this is the happening place. Thank you for all of our listeners.
Susan and Eddie to pop back.
Now, you never know. We've had some wonderful listeners that have been checking in from us from all over the world who have commented on our show. So thank you. Without you, we wouldn't have a successful show. And we really want to say thank you for everything that we've done and allowing us to come into your home and giving you the viewing and listening pleasure for this evening and for the archive. So if any of you have missed the show, we'll post out that this is archival. You can see it at your leisure. So till again next week, guys, it's been Ian and Kim. We're having a blast. We're here to rock it out to you. Till next time. Take it away, Gary. If you would. Thanks again, Len.
This program was brought to you by the Internet Broadcasting Organization, setting the standard for new media broadcasting.